Toronto as the Blue Jays take on the Orioles, and the feathers certainly will be flying. My partner Dave Winfield knows a thing or two about that in Toronto. If Baltimore wins, they're a playoff team, and Josh Lewin and Ken Singleton have the story.
Here's a pitch on the way, a swing and a belt, left field, way back. The Blue Jays are World Series champions.
That home run was the last time the postseason involved the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays will not be in the playoffs this year, but with a win today up here in Toronto, the Baltimore Orioles will get their chance to provide postseason heroics in this year's playoffs.
If you want it, here it is. Come and get it, but you better hurry, 'cause it's going fast. You better hurry, 'cause it's going fast. You better hurry, 'cause it's going fast.
The Orioles are in Toronto, a place that's never been kind to them, but with a win today, forget about the past. The Orioles are in the playoffs if they can beat Toronto. You can forget about the White Sox and the Mariners at that point. The O's are going to the postseason. They get a victory today. Josh Lewin along with Ken Singleton. Welcome to Fox's coverage of Saturday afternoon baseball, everybody. It has been a roller coaster ride for the Orioles all season long, but here they are with a chance to get to the postseason for the first time in 13 years. Ken Singleton was on that team. What was it like when you were one game away from getting into the playoffs?
Well, I can recall that night in Milwaukee. Didn't get much sleep, but the fact is we went out the next day and clinched the division. Situation for the Oriole players now, they know they're that close to getting the job done, getting in the postseason.
All right, now back to that roller coaster ride. Let's check out how the Orioles season has gone along. And it wasn't necessarily April being the cruelest month. July was the month that really tripped them up, but Eddie Murray came back to this organization, got them playing some inspired baseball, and there was a spin-off effect, I guess, from that. Some other guys started playing well, too.
Particularly Bobby Bonilla. He's really been hot the last third of the season. You can see his record right there. 16 home runs, 54 RBIs in his last 55 ball games. That's because he's been in the outfield every single ball game.
As for Toronto, it has not been their year. What's going on for them?
Well, Cito Gaston has seen this club struggle this year. You can remember just a few years ago, the Blue Jays on top of the world. It's not the case here when you have numbers like this.
The Orioles win. They are in, and they've got their ace on the mound today. Mike Messina gunning for win number 20, and we'll be back in Toronto after these messages from your local Fox station. Veteran Baltimore Ball Club on the cusp of going forward into the postseason. They need a win today to lock that up. And now we'll take a look at the new Miller Beer starting lineups for the Baltimore Orioles. Leading off and playing center field, Brady Anderson. He has been large this season with 11 leadoff home runs, 49 home runs overall for him. Roberto Alomar follows, and what an interesting figure he has been these last 24 hours. More on that coming up. Todd Zeile at third, Rafael Palmeiro at first, and Bobby Bonilla, Cal Ripken, Eddie Murray, B.J. Sherman, and finally the catcher, Chris Hoyles.
Defensively here at the Sky Dome this afternoon for the Toronto Blue Jays, 982 fielding percentage, are tied for 6th in the American League. So the Blue Jays, a fairly good defensive club. They cover the artificial surface quite well.
On the mound for the Orioles and going for his 20th win, Mike Messina. He was at 19 wins yesterday. Eric Hansen, or last year I should say. Eric Hansen is on the mound for Toronto. He's just trying to avoid an 18th loss. 13 and 17 overall. A changeup and a curveball type of pitcher, a guy that can give the Orioles some problems. The Orioles' problems, though, right now are trying to deal with the distraction of what happened last night in the very first inning. Roberto Alomar was at the plate and took a called third strike that he vehemently disagreed with. And we'll take a look at what happened yesterday. Now, there's Alomar after the fact coming back out. And there's the now famous saliva in the face of home plate umpire John Hirschbeck. Now, it should be pointed out that as Alomar has appealed a 5-game suspension, allowing him to be in this ball game today, John Hirschbeck is going to take the day off. There was some serious acrimony between Alomar and Hirschbeck before the game today. Hirschbeck apparently letting himself cool off. He will not be out there. There will only be 3 umpires today. Richie Phillips, the general counsel of the Major League Baseball Umpires Association, has released a statement We've just gotten it in our hands here, and basically, here it is. Richie Phillips says this morning, I've had several conversations with Gene Budig, the American League president, regarding the incident of last night. Our position is that Roberto Alomar's actions were of a despicable and cowardly nature. The Umpires Association is demanding a swift imposition of a very severe penalty. That is from the desk of Richie Phillips. And Jim McKeon, who's the crew chief and will be at first base umpiring today, he also met the media here, spoke out against the actions of Roberto Alomar. What do you make of all this, Ken?
Well, Jim McKeon, as you take a look at him right in your picture there, along with Orioles first base coach John Stearns, Jim McKeon said only animals spit on people. That was quite a hefty quote towards Roberto Alomar. So certainly the situation heated. I think it's a good thing that John Hirschbeck is not here this afternoon. How can he maintain his impartiality if he has a call to be made involving Roberto Alomar?
So an explosive night and explosive morning here as well, as once again John Hirschbeck, when he was told of some quotes that were in the paper today attributed to Roberto Alomar, after about a 20-second pause to consider what to do, John Hirschbeck went after Roberto Alomar, tried to get in that Orioles clubhouse. To do so, he was reportedly tackled from behind by Jim Joyce, one of the other umpires on this crew. Joyce has home plate today. McKeon will be working at first base, Ted Hendry at third. Alomar will be batting second in this inning. Underway with Brady Anderson looking at strike one, and lost in all the commotion of what's going on with Alomar and Hirschbeck. Here's Brady Anderson with a chance to become only the 14th player ever to smash 50 homers in a season. He's one away. Anderson also has been hit by a lot of pitches this year, and you saw Hansen come close to him that time. Can't blame a pitcher for wanting to back Brady away. He's hit 49 home runs.
Yeah, pitchers want that outside half of the plate. Brady's been going out there, getting those pitches and pulling them over the wall in right field.
Slaps this one in the left field, and the Orioles get it going with a base hit by Brady Anderson. The guy that has always hit Hansen very well, by the way, is now a 400 hitter against him. The boos cascading down on Roberto Alomar. That was happening even before the incident yesterday. Alomar, the former Toronto Blue Jay, leaving the Blue Jays and going to Baltimore through the free agency route.
You know, just one thing to think about here in the future. How's this going to affect Alomar and umpiring games games umpired by John Hirschbeck? I believe they won't happen.
What about the rest of this crew? And what about just the umpires union banding together as one? Is Alomar a marked man right now?
Yeah, that's a possibility as well, but I can recall an incident years ago when Earl Weaver and Ron Luciano got into it. Earl Weaver, the former manager of the Orioles. Luciano was reassigned every time his crew was going to work an Orioles game.
Throwing his bat at that one, could be two. And it is. Gonzalez to Crespo onto Olerud, and Alomar part of a 6-4-3 double play. There is some history, by the way, between Alomar and John Hirschbeck. Alomar telling us last night the last time that he was tossed out of a game, John Hirschbeck was the guy that tossed him last year when Alomar was a Blue Jay.
Well, Robbie also felt that he really didn't get agitated until after he was thrown out of the game, in which he felt that he was thrown out unnecessarily.
Hansen pours in a fastball here to Todd Zeile, who has picked an odd time for a slump. He has 1 for his last 30, 0 for his last 21. There's that big curve from Hansen dropping in.
Umpire Jim Joyce has certainly one of the most distinctive strike calls in the league, and Eric Hansen with that 12-6 curveball. There it is again.
And the Orioles down quickly here in the top of the first inning. Mike Mussina will be on the mound for Baltimore. He's trying to wrap up his 20th win of the year. It is the Battle of the Birds today, the Blue Jays and the Orioles. Toronto trying to keep the Orioles out of the postseason. Here are the new Miller Beer starting lineups for Toronto. Jacob Brumfield leading off and playing center. Felipe Crespo to follow. Then Carlos Delgado. Joe Carter, the veteran. Ed Sprague at third base. And Sprague looking for his 100th RBI of the year today. John Olerud at first. Sean Green in right. Alex Gonzalez at short. Sandy Martinez, the young catcher.
Defensively for the Baltimore Orioles, they have more than just a hitter at first base. Rafael Palmeiro, 118 assists. 18 double plays started, most among first basemen in the American League. They have a good glove over there as well.
Mike Mussina, a guy that's won about 70% of his big league decisions for his young career, going for his 20th win of this season today. Still, there is some mumbling back in Baltimore and even in the Oriole clubhouse that in a big game situation, Mussina is not the guy you want out there. And that criticism has certainly stung Mike Mussina. He's out here this afternoon, not just to get his 20th win, but to prove he can come up big in the clutch. Fastball runs away here. Jacob Brumfield leading it off.
Chance for a double payoff for Mike Mussina this afternoon. Brumfield, plenty of speed out of the leadoff spot. One of the type of guys you like to keep off base if you can.
On the ground to the steady shortstop, Cal Ripken. Across to Palmeiro for the out.
Well, Cal Ripken's only made 3 errors since June the 28th. So you mentioned steady. I guess that's steady in my book as well.
Cal Ripken was a part of the last Orioles team to go to the playoffs, 1983. They won it all. And Cal Ripken threw out the ceremonial first pitch of the first game of last year's World Series. And Cal standing out there on the mound in Atlanta, where Davey Johnson used to play, by the way. Crespo looks at a fastball for a strike. Cal vowed right then and there, says, you know, this is brutal. I don't want to be out here as a ceremony. Yeah, I want to be in uniform and get me a part of a World Series again. In there to Felipe Crespo, a 175 hitter.
Mussina has a couple of curveballs. That was one of them. He has a great knuckle curve. He also has a regular curveball. Crespo at the plate. Well, he's supposedly the heir to Roberto Alomar here in Toronto.
Popped it up as it bends down that right field line. Everybody chasing. Can anybody get there? Bonilla gives it a shot, but does not hang on. There has been a history in this series the last couple of days of outfielders and infielders running right up against the stands, leaning in and bringing baseballs back. Bonilla trying to do what Sean Green did yesterday for the Toronto team. There's a souvenir. Do they get to keep Bobby Bonilla once he goes in?
Well, sometimes they pull your glove off, and you get in there. Sometimes it's no man's land. But the fact is, it looked like Bobby was trying to pick up some all-star votes for next year, apologizing to the fans. And oh, somebody needs some new popcorn or a new drink.
Wonder if they got a picture of that. Had the camera out. The very close-up of Bonilla. Well, you talked about the couple different curveballs that Mike Mussina will show the Toronto Blue Jays. When the knuckle curve is on, you'll know it early. Mussina will go with that pitch quite a bit. He's not afraid to throw that curveball really at any time in the count.
A lot of movement on all his pitches.
And you hear it all from Jim Joyce. We don't even have to put that Fox box up there, right? Just listen to Jim Joyce for running commentary today. And down goes Felipe Crespo. That one had some bite on it. Good-looking curve from Mike Mussina. And Mussina on his way to 200 strikeouts, by the way, is now at 196. If Mussina has a particularly good strikeout day, well, he needs 7 more to become the all-time strikeout leader for the Orioles in a single season. Could hear that ball slicing right through the air there on Felipe Crespo as he's down for the second out of the inning. Now Carlos Delgado.
Well, you mentioned the ball slicing through the air. On the Yuba nights, of course, not much humidity inside here, but Yuba nights facing somebody like Nolan Ryan and his fastball, Josh, I tell you, it sounded like bacon frying on the way to the plate. You can hear that sizzling through the air.
Good-looking curve from Mussina right there. What did it feel like, though, on a cold day when the Nolan Ryan fastball was hummed in there and you actually made some contact?
Let's listen to this one.
Well, I'm going to be hearing that in my sleep.
That makes the game more fun, especially here at the Sky Dome, where the fans are noted for being kind of quiet, and they react when things happen here. Of course, Jim Joyce is going to keep everybody awake throughout this ball game.
like the old Milton Berle line. What is this, an audience or an oil painting? So what
Josh,
about...
you're not that old, are you?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, okay.
Not for Uncle Milty, no. I'm told he said that once.
Those were the days when television was in black and white.
Yeah, I used to sit around the Philco, you know. Didn't miss by much. So tell me about hitting Nolan Ryan's fastball,
On a
for
cold
example,
day?
on April 12th when it's 37 degrees.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to play them. If it was in April, we have to go out to California. So it's usually warm out in California. Angels didn't make many trips east that early in the year.
Delgado skies one here to center field, and it's being pointed out for Brady Anderson. He is under it, and casually, he's got it to end the inning. Scoreless here on the day the Orioles can clinch. You get a look through the screen at the Orioles Brain Trust. Assistant General Manager Kevin Malone on the left, and Pat Gillick, the former major domo of these Toronto Blue Jays, is on the right. And there's been some speculation. Cito Gaston this year has said, without naming Gillick in particular, he's been kind of making some noise that there is a former Blue Jays executive that wanted him out of here. Never mentioned Gillick by name, but that's been the tacit implication. Gillick went on record when these two teams were getting together in Baltimore last week and said it wasn't so. Rafael Palmeiro smacks one into right field. That one traveling down the line quickly. Palmeiro will take the turn and hold. Leadoff single for the Orioles for the second straight inning. Palmeiro, Ken, I think you got to say, he's got one of the sweetest swings in baseball.
I wouldn't disagree with that, and certainly he had the type of year, most valuable player on the Oriole Ball Club, second straight year, and the numbers would tell you why. 39 home runs, 142 RBIs, and check out the swing by Palmeiro. Fastball certainly where he can handle it, middle in, and he turned on it, raked it into the corner.
Well, you seldom see Palmeiro's name with those of the other great hitters these days, but his 39 homers, more than Cecil Fielder. Bonilla looks at a curve too low. Well, Palmeiro's got 142 RBIs. It's a franchise record. Bobby Bonilla's been piling up the runs batted in lately. He's got 116 now.
Yeah, Josh, the situation with Bonilla being very hot, and I think one reason he's got a lot of notoriety in the second half because he has been so hot. With Palmeiro, he's been steady all season long. And sometimes when you're steady, you don't get much recognition because people expect you to do it day after day. Bonilla really had to come on in the second half to have his year. And it was a little more outstanding when he had to come from so far to get the job done.
Twists this one foul out of play back towards the third base side. Well, with Palmeiro anyway, and maybe this is true even for Bonilla, maybe what it'll take, especially for Palmeiro to get his due, is to finally be at the plate for a meaningful at-bat the first week of October. 10 years in the big leagues, Palmeiro's never played on a playoff team. Sock to second. Again, it could be two. Nicely turned. Gonzalez fires on to John Olerud. And Eric Hansen, changing speeds, has induced a couple of Oriole big boppers to hit the ball along the carpet, and the Blue Jays swiftly turn a pair of double plays.
Each time after giving up a leadoff single, comes right back with a double play ball. This one off the end of the bat of Bonilla, curveball, and raked the second, but it's going to be turned for the double play. Nicely done by Crespo. Gonzalez in the middle, over to Olerud at first base. See the shortstop, middleman on the double play. Wants to get in and out of there as fast as possible. That kind of sidearm throw, that makes the runner slide to get out of the way of the ball.
Ripken tags one going after the first pitch and drops it into left field in front of Joe Carter. Ripken turning it on. He's going to try for two. And Cal Ripken sliding behind is in there with a double. He went through the back door that time.
He certainly did. Crespo looking for Cal Ripken, couldn't find him. Cal with one of those veteran tricks of sliding into second base. First of all, Ripken pulling the ball up on the plate, and he's thinking double right from the very start. He's a nice overhead view, turns the corner nicely, heads for second. Watch him come in the back door. You don't learn that. You don't see many rookies pulling this play. Cal ducking in, and here I am.
Crespo went to tag him. Where the heck did he go? 40th double for Cal Ripken, and now Cal's closest friend in baseball at the plate, that's Eddie Murray.
Josh, with Eddie Murray at the plate, Cal Ripken on second base. When the Orioles last got to the playoffs and then eventually winning the World Series, these guys batted 3 and 4 in the lineup. Cal was the MVP. Eddie was the runner-up. They were the rocks of the team.
Eddie Murray 3 weeks ago got that 500th career home run. And he got it on the 1-year anniversary of when Cal Ripken broke the Ironman record playing in his 2,131st game. September 6th is a big date for the Orioles now.
Back in '83, I batted 6th. And there was a change in the lineup in spring training. Made my manager Joe Altobelli. I had batted 3rd for about 8 years in front of Eddie. I was dropped to 6th. Cal had the MVP season, but I was happy. We went to the World Series, and I got the ring to prove it.
Eddie Murray can sniff it again. He knows he's close. And look at what he's done the last couple of weeks, hitting in the clutch, bringing guys in from second base. Kept the Orioles close yesterday. The team was down to 3-1. It was a Murray double that shaved it back to a 3-2 score. And the Orioles, with a runner in scoring position, base hit would have tied the game, but a Timlin strikeout of Chris Hoyles ended it. Murray slightly under this one, and high it goes into shallow left. The shortstop Gonzalez makes the squeeze, and that's it for the Orioles. They do not score despite a couple of hits. We're scoreless going to the bottom of the second. Joe Carter coming up.
Fox Saturday Baseball is brought to you by the car that makes waves, the new Eclipse from Mitsubishi, built for living. By new Speed Stick Gel, it's unbeatable gel protection just for the guys. By Nicotrol, 6 weeks, 1 step. Take control with Nicotrol. And by Miller Lite. When you've got the great taste of an ice cold Miller Lite, life is good.
Scoreless game in the second inning. It's time now for the Mitsubishi Motors playoff picture. Dick Hauser, the only manager to make the playoffs in the consecutive years with 2 different clubs. And you know what? Davey Johnson could join him on that list. He took the Reds to the postseason last year, looking to steer the Orioles that way here in 1996. And a win today gets it done for Baltimore. The magic number, it's a straight vertical line, 1. Mike Mussina, and kind of a dual storyline today, is going for his 20th win. This is the 4th shot he's had to get 20 wins now. He's gone 0-2 in his last 3 starts. ERA up over 10. Zeal getting that ground ball off the bat of Joe Carter, 1 down in the second inning. There's a little bit of a personal statement, perhaps, that Mike Mussina can make today as well. Cito Gaston was managing the American League All-Star team back in 1993 in Baltimore. Gaston did not get Mussina into the ball game. Mussina warming up on his own. The Orioles crowd going wild. Let him play, let him play. And he never got in. And there has been a little bit of an edge to that relationship, Mussina and Gaston.
They've spoken about it in the past and tried to patch things up, but there's always going to be something there as far as I'm concerned. And you know, maybe Cito should have gotten him into the game, as the Orioles fans wanted, and were claiming to have him in or wanted him to have him in. But, you know, it's always up to the manager who he puts in and who he calls down to the bullpen to have warm up.
Ed Sprague, a former college teammate of Mike Mussina, up there with a count of 1-1.
Sprague with an interesting last number there, the 99 runs batted in.
Good-looking curve from Mike Mussina. So what do you do when you're right there on the cusp? You're at 99 and holding.
Well, with 2 games to go, certainly you don't want to be up with nobody on base, or at least a runner not at third and less than 2 outs. But a situation, you've got it in your hands. If he goes deep here, he's got his 100th RBI.
Not this time. And Ed Sprague, whose dad is the guy that signed Mike Mussina for the Orioles, strikes out on some wicket breaking stuff. Mike Mussina with his 2nd strikeout of the day. And closer and closer he gets to 200 strikeouts for the year.
Wicket breaking ball strikes out Sprague, but Sprague has moved up another level as a hitter this year with the 35 homers and the 99 ribbies.
Now John Olerud. I believe that one was a strike.
Now I'm going to have to turn down my headset here. It's Any impending strike in the zone there.
Well, Messina looks like he's got some pretty live stuff today. Although you recall the old Mike Flanagan line when he was talking about Mike Boddicker's fastball. He says, remember the Canadian exchange rate, an 88-mile-an-hour fastball is really only 82.
I would say that Messina's throwing harder than 82 today, plus a lot of movement.
And inducing a ground ball to the former Blue Jay Alomar. Down go the Jays. And we're at the end of 2. We'll return to Toronto for the third after a word from your local station. You're watching Fox, home of the 1996 World Series. 3 hits for the Orioles so far, but no score in this game. And a little bit of a migratory problem here. Usually birds fly south. But this time, some Oriole fans coming north, hoping to see the team clinch. It's the wild card. That's what they're gunning for here. It'll be their first trip to the postseason since 1983. B.J. Surhoff stands in. That obviously a strike.
Orioles certainly one of the best supported teams in baseball. Home record in attendance this year.
Eric Hansen, the man on the mound for Toronto, has been helped by a couple of ground ball double plays to this point. Snapdragon curves here from Eric Hansen. Seeing a lot of off-speed stuff. But Surhoff is on the fastball, and down the right field line it goes. It's a fair ball into the corner. And it will be an automatic double for B.J. Surhoff as it bounces up and towards that crowd.
Well, third inning in a row, the Orioles have started off with a hit. This time it's a double. Each preceding time it's been followed by a double play. Eric Hansen not so sure that ball was fair. He said something as if it's a foul ball. Here's a shot off the bat of Surhoff, and maybe the Orioles catching a break here. We'll have to see. Is it fair or is it foul? A little tough to tell on that replay, wasn't it?
Cito Gaston has to have his say about it.
And Hansen sulking on the mound. He felt that was a foul ball.
Well, Cito Gaston taking over for this Blue Jays club in early '89. The team made a U-turn that left tire tracks 2 inches thick. Toronto going 77-49 under Cito Gaston. That made him the manager of the year. It put the Jays in a position where on the last Saturday of the season, in '89, they could clinch a playoff berth by beating the Orioles right here. So in the turnabout department, here are the Orioles last Saturday of the regular season this year, and at the same bat time, same bat channel. They are looking to put the Blue Jays away. Chris Hoyle standing in and has had a big second half to balloon those numbers up to where they look pretty solid. Chris Hoyle always seems to start very slowly. In fact, the last couple days, right to, in Canada, what is Dominion Day, July the 1st. Average of $1.98, but from July 2nd on, he's been sizzling.
Well, he has shown the power numbers with the 25 home runs. So that just makes him consistent with the rest of the ball club. Good changeup by Eric Hansen. He has one of the better changeups in the league. Also, I mentioned the curveball, 12-6, but this is a change. Hoyle trying to stay back, can't do so. The change actually dropping out of the strike zone as he goes for it to the strike.
Hoyle's a guy that's had success in the past against Hansen, 8 for 19 against him. You talked about that changeup. It's not just Hansen. Mike Messina has a changeup that's right up there as well. You talk to the scouts and the players, they say Hansen and Messina mix and match the order, but those are the 2 best changeups maybe in the American League.
Hoyle's got a piece of that pitch, but fouled it into the glove of the catcher, Sandy Martinez.
Well, Hansen with that change and that curve. For what it's worth, the Orioles just faced another great curveball artist earlier this week. The Red Sox, Tom Gordon, shut him down. That one too far inside. This Orioles club, it's built to bludgeon. Hard-throwing fastballers don't seem to faze him, but a veteran nibbler like a Jamie Moyer or this guy Eric Hansen, that can cross him up a little bit. The Orioles hitters like to take those big cuts. Got him. Nice looking breaking ball from Eric Hansen. It is his second strikeout, and the Orioles now with a runner at second base and one out.
I called it a 12-6 curveball. That means it breaks almost straight down on the clock. Eric Hansen, one of the better breaking balls in this league. Take a look at this curve that puts away Chris Hoiles. Almost straight down into the catcher's glove. Great pitch.
And the Orioles now hitless today with men on base. They're 0 for 4. Now Brady Anderson. He of the 49 homers, 109 runs batted in. Just what everyone thought he'd do. That there is grade A sarcasm, folks.
49 home runs ties a club record. And you have to go back a ways. It was 1966, Frank Robinson.
That was Davy Johnson's rookie year as a player, and the year that the Orioles made it to the World Series.
For the very first time.
And won it.
Yep.
Davy was the second baseman on that club. Curveball in the dirt this time, 2-0. It was Davy Johnson that predicted great things, maybe not this great for Brady Anderson. I mean, who would have thought that he'd be on the cusp of a 50 home run season? That's something that's been done by only 13 players all time. And Anderson, very literate when it comes to baseball history. He knows that if he gets that 50th home run, well, he can rattle off the names of the other guys in that 50 homer club, from Maris to Mantle to Kiner to McGuire. Record-setting year for Brady Anderson in many ways. And now he is on base with B.J. Surhoff at second. It'll be a 2 on here for Alomar.
Well, a classic case of pitching around a hitter, trying to set up maybe a double play once again for Eric Hansen. He's had success so far. Pitches around Brady Anderson to get to Alomar with the... Now he has a man on first, chance to get the double play as he had in the previous 2 innings.
If you've just joined us, it has been a busy last 18 hours or so for Roberto Alomar, getting thrown out of a game yesterday. That actually from the dugout, and then he charged out of the dugout. He admits to spitting in the face of home plate umpire John Hirschbeck. The level of acrimony reached to such incredible proportions. Hirschbeck is sitting this one out today, the umpire. Nice stop in the dirt there by Sandy Martinez. Keeps the runners at first and second.
Well, I think Hirschbeck doing the right thing, sitting this one out, because what if there's a call or a play involving Alomar and Hirschbeck, who would have been at third base this afternoon, and maybe cooling off himself a bit. And there's the crew chief, Jim McKeon, who issued a statement himself earlier today.
Can they turn their third double play of the day? No. Alomar is safe at first as the throw was slightly up the right field line. John Olerud grabbing that baseball on the return, but once again, Hansen, who has owned Alomar throughout his career, gets him to hit that ground ball on the carpet.
Well, the feed is the key, and it's a little high to Crespo, so he has to get the ball first before making the throw, and then does not make a good return throw to first base. But actually, this was kind of a tougher double play to turn than the previous 2, because Gonzalez going to his left almost has to stop on the dime and then flip it to the second baseman, and couldn't get the job done.
So with a couple men on and a couple men out, Todd Zeile comes up, and he hits one on the carpet. His slump is going to go to 0 for 23, as once again the Orioles cannot bring a man on in. They had a runner at second base with nobody out. Still scoreless from Toronto. Scoreless at Sky Dome. It's time for the Pizza Hut Deliver Me Home contribution update. Pizza Hut proud to donate to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. $1,500 for each home run hit by these 4 batters. Bottom third of the order for Toronto. In the bottom of the third inning, Sean Green gets it going against Mike Messina. And the big curve for a strike.
Sean Green at the plate. The Blue Jays are hoping that his numbers will improve next year, including the RBI column at the end. Much in the same way that Ed Sprague's numbers went up this year, and he stepped up another level. They're looking for production from Sean Green next year.
Well, you look at Green, and it's basically John Olerud Part D. And just like Toronto shortstop Alex Gonzalez was lured away from college with a big signing bonus, the Blue Jays did that with Green the same year, 1991. And physically, he does look a good deal like Olerud. He's got the same kind of swing.
So my point about moving up the level like Ed Sprague, his teammate, Sprague went from 18 home runs, 74 RBIs to 35 home runs, 99 RBIs. Now, I don't know if Green's capable of hitting 35 home runs, but he's certainly capable of driving in more runs. And I think that's the type of production the Blue Jays are looking for.
Well, and some of the local pundits are wondering if that's the case, since you're building for next year anyway, why hasn't Green been playing every day this year, getting as many at-bats as possible? Sprays this one down that left field line, and Surhoff leans in, cannot come up with it. Cito Gaston has said, well, sometimes Green just doesn't hit very well, but then it's like utility man Chris Spire once said, they say I can't play because I'm not hitting. Well, how do I hit from the bench? And Sean Green's the kind of guy that wants to be out there every day. In basketball, they call those players gym rats. And Cito Gaston has himself a field rat, a guy that wants to be out there. Didn't miss by much, but Mike Messina has allowed his first runner of today's ball game. Al Bundy. Yes, Al Bundy. Al Bundy staying alive.
That looked like one of the suits I used to wear back in the 70s.
Oh, say it ain't so. There's a disco duck right there. Alex Gonzalez at the plate. Big rip. And we talked about Gonzalez getting lured away from college with a big signing bonus. Sean Green had that happen to him as well. With Gonzalez, this was a guy that was being mentioned in the same breath with Alex Rodriguez, the other exciting young shortstop named Alex in baseball. The new wave of Generation X shortstops, tall and lean and able to hit for average and power. Well, Gonzalez wasn't drafted till the 13th round back in '91 because everybody figured he was going to college. He had a scholarship sit at the University of Miami. His dad, a professor there, so everybody put 2 and 2 together and figured that, well, the answer was 4. But they figured that Gonzalez would go to Miami. Nobody wasted a draft pick except Toronto. And a 6-figure signing bonus convinced him to, let me go back and get that education later.
It's hard for a university to match those numbers. Although some are on probation, I don't know if it's for $600,000. Too many strikeouts for Mr. Gonzalez this year. They feel that he's going to have to be a little bit more patient at the plate, learn the strike zone a little better, but he's still a young player and developing in this league.
Mike Messina keeps Sean Green close. Now, if you're thinking about Toronto trying to run around today on Mike Messina, maybe you want to think again. Because with Mike Messina on the mound, and even with Chris Hoiles behind the plate, a guy that's thrown out only about 20% of attempted base stealers this year, the numbers change when Messina's out there. He's got a knack for holding guys close.
Oh,
Right into Nick Leyva, the third base coach. Tried to hop out of the way. That one's going to leave a mark.
he's not going to rub it, though, because you don't want anybody to know that one of your own hitters hurt you and you're not quick enough to get out of the way. The reason why he couldn't move, this ball was tailing into him. But Nick Leyva staying cool, blowing bubbles over at third.
He's just flashed a sign for I need a doctor, and I need one quickly.
Here's that rocket off the bat of Gonzalez. See the deflection all the way out to short left field.
Nick Leyva has been in the postseason himself as a coach several times with the Blue Jays and with the Cardinals. The Orioles trying to get to the postseason with a win today.
Would you say that's almost in the nick of time he got out of the way?
No, I wouldn't say it. I'm glad you did. This copyright telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without express written consent. All puns have to be cleared through that office, too, by the way, Singy. They're a good bunch, though. They'll probably let that one slide.
Yeah, I'd feel more concerned if there were an actual commissioner. That's one thing we do need.
Well, it's interesting with the Orioles. involved recently in a game that just could not ever get played with the Milwaukee Brewers, a game that was postponed a couple times. The Brewers had to come to Baltimore on 2 different occasions trying to make up this game. That's Bud Selig's ball club that was in jeopardy. Busted bat bouncer, Alomar, with the frisbee toss to Ripken, back to first, not in time. Gonzalez able to beat it out, and there's another bubble blower, Roberto Alomar, having turned it 4-6. A great combination of Alomar and Ripken. Alomar.
Right on the money, chest high with the flip to throw to first. Gonzalez hustling. People wondering if the Blue Jays are just, going through the motions here this weekend. I don't see any evidence that the Blue Jays are just rolling over and let the Orioles win these ball games. Blue Jays won the opening game of the series last night. We're in a scoreless duel here this afternoon. There's the relay to first, not in time. Gonzalez hustling down the line, beats the throw.
Sandy Martinez coming up now, and you make a good point, Ken. The wild card concept's only been breathing for 2 years, but the Blue Jays may be watching the wild card winner celebrate on its home field both times. Cito Gaston has told his guys you shouldn't let that happen. These Toronto Blue Jays seem to stay out of the double play. One of the few things they are doing well in this 1996 season.
Well, maybe it has something to do. They've drawn the second fewest walks in the league.
If you don't get guys on base, you're not going to hit into a lot of double plays.
Second fewest walks, and they've struck out the 3rd most in the league. So that's a lot of people you're eliminating from getting on first base.
Sandy Martinez, a young catcher, was not around for the festive occasions that the city of Toronto saw, 92 and 93. They won it all. Little bloop shot. Trouble in the right center field. Down for a base hit, and Gonzalez turns it on. Trying for third. He will make it there. Runners at the corners now for Toronto, and the top of the order coming up. And now we'll see if Mike Mussina, in a big game situation, can pitch his way out of a jam in a scoreless affair.
Well, Mussina made a good pitch. He jammed Martinez, broke his bat. Gonzalez realizing right away with some heads-up base running. First of all, the pitch. See, on the inner half, jams Martinez, has enough strength to get it over into short center field. But good base running, heads-up base running by Gonzalez, knowing that this ball is going to fall in. Recognizes it right there, then turns it on and goes to third base. So the Blue Jays are in business. Now, one thing I always thought about the great pitchers, Josh, that the good pitchers always made sure that in the big ball games, their team scored first. Well, the Orioles in danger here, giving up a run quickly.
Now remember, they're 0 for 6 with men on base themselves today. Here's the top of the order, Brumfield. Curveball chopped foul. Pitching has been, I guess, the bane of this Orioles ball club this year, Kenny. And Davey Johnson, who was on some Orioles team where pitching was a hallmark, he read a quote the other day that he thought carried a lot of weight from Sparky Anderson, who once said, in the circus of baseball, pitching is the big tent in the middle. Everything else is just a sideshow. And there has been trouble under the big top for Baltimore this year.
A lot of hitting, though. Record number of home runs. And that can cover up for a lot of mistakes.
No, but you ask the question, though, how many teams have won championships without solid pitching?
Yes,
you look at the Indians last year, that big offensive tour de force was ground to a stop by Glavine and Maddox.
Are we looking at an aberration with the offensive numbers so high that you can still make the playoffs with a club that just bludgeons everybody and doesn't have much pitching?
If the Orioles win today, the answer is a resounding yes.
Yes, but does that lead you to believe that once the playoff starts, a team like the Atlanta Braves that won it last year is going to win again this year because they can shut those guys off?
Well, adding to that, the fear for the Orioles has to be if they don't hit home runs, and they've been hitting a lot of them, but when they don't, they're 16 and 24 in games in which they do not homer. Could be two. The curveball slapped to Ripken. Back to Alomar. Turn to Palmeiro. And it is a double play festival at Skydome. We go right now to the 4th inning, and we're still knotted up 0-0. There's Cal Ripken, who was at this ballpark back in 1989 here in Toronto when the Orioles, on the second last day of the regular season, were knocked out of playoff contention. Here the Orioles are today, second last day of 1996. They're looking for a banner. I don't know if you get a banner for being the wild card team or not. I guess that's something that you'd have to discuss the cosmetics of it, but that's how the Orioles would get in if they can get on the board here against Eric Hansen. First things first. Rafael Palmeiro singled back in the second inning. Ken, you got to figure this is a pretty good choice for a guy that could maybe be a fire starter here, get something ignited. He's had a big season, Rafael Palmeiro, the most valuable Oriole, the MVO. Club record for runs batted in, and they've certainly been pouring it on lately.
Second season in a row that Palmeiro has gotten the honors, and a very steady ball player.
Drives this one to right. And right there is Sean Green. Bobby Bonilla coming up next.
Josh, you got to figure somewhere down the line here, one of the Orioles' big guns is going to fire. I mean, they've hit well over 250 home runs this year, and Eric Hansen's done a pretty good job of keeping the ball out of the middle of the plate. But with a club this explosive, it only takes one bad pitch, and in a game like you have going today, that means you're going to be behind on the scoreboard against a very tough pitcher. So Hansen has to really concentrate, change speeds, something he's been doing very well.
Big rip for Bobby Bonilla. And you saw moments ago a couple of guys that he has been looking up to, Cal Ripken and Eddie Murray, the two guys that are scheduled to bat next in that order. Looping curve doesn't drop.
Fourth time in Bonilla's career that he's driven in 100-plus runs. First time since 1991, so it's been a bit of a dry spell. Not completely. He's driven in a lot of runs, but just not 100.
Well, when Bonilla came to Baltimore last year in a late July trade with the Mets, he brought this club an energy, an electricity it didn't really have at that point. Of course, this year, Bonilla found his energy sapped a little when Davey Johnson ran him out there as a DH.
Look out.
Oh, how about a little stereo look out for you? And we've been working together too long.
That pitch from Eric Hansen. Yeah, Bobby boy, he's not upset. I'm going to get something else to hit, but he knew that was close. That pitch from Hansen. Watch it put him right in the revolving door. Fastball, the target's up and in. A little too far up, a little too far in.
Bobby Bonilla sees the count grow. Pulled to 3-2 in a scoreless game, fourth inning. Now defensive two-strike swing that time for Bonilla.
There's a changeup by Hansen, an excellent one. Fastball's in, changeup away. Throwing a changeup on a 3-2 pitch, or that's not the changeup, that's the fastball up and in.
Reaching out for that one, chops it off the plate and over to first. John Olerud says, no, don't worry, I got it. Cal Ripken, who will bat with nobody on and 2 out as Bonilla's retired. This is a team that Cal Ripken faced to begin the Ironman streak, which now sits at 2,315. It all started back in May of '82. The O's and the Jays. Ken Singleton was there, batting cleanup against Toronto's Jim Gott.
Gott won the game, if I remember correctly.
One hitter. Take a look at how maybe to pitch or not to pitch to Cal Ripken this year. Stay out of that red zone.
A red zone is a pitch over the outer half, and it goes to show you how Ripken has changed his style of hitting. The double his first time up today was his 40th of the year. Back in '83, he hit 47 doubles, a club record.
Well, he flinched, but then that curveball bit off the inside half of the plate.
But a lot of his doubles back in those days were to the opposite field. Now, as his career has gone on, particularly this year, he's pulled the ball a lot more. There's the breaking ball, the flinch, and the steady hold of the glove by Martinez maybe got that called a strike. But Ripken has changed his style of hitting as the years have gone on here.
They appeal to Jim McKeon down there, and no swing is the call.
You can hear how the umpires work as a team, as Jim Joyce called the Jimmy at first base, Jim McKeon. And a little more teamwork this afternoon with one less umpire. They're going to have to move around the field a lot more. I don't think umpires get enough credit as to how they actually work as a team. People are watching the players on the field move around chasing the ball, but the umpires have to get in position to make the calls that need to be made.
In there at the knees. Well, you hear a lot of talk a lot of times about patchwork ball clubs. A team that hasn't been together a lot will take a while to come together as a team. The Orioles are a good example of that this year. Do you figure the same is true for an umpiring crew?
I think they have to work hard in spring training, and as the season goes along, they become they know each other's minds out there on the field.
Ripken off the end of the bat and out to second base. Felipe Crespo takes care of him, and the Orioles still have not scored against a pitcher who's lost 17 games. Eric Hansen's looked pretty good. Serving up a scoreless game here in Toronto. I wonder what he's about to serve up. It looks like he means business, though. I will serve soup, and I will serve it well.
No soup for you.
No soup. Felipe Crespo is going to lead off here. There's a lot of different places where you can watch a ball game here at this cavernous and beautiful Sky Dome. 31 stories high, this place. To put that in perspective, that's 13 stories higher than the Astrodome.
They call the Astrodome the 8th wonder of the world.
You know, they don't have a hotel at their place right in the park.
Or big restaurant straight away center field.
They don't have the fitness club with the world's largest indoor running track. How about that scoreboard out there in center field?
Or a retractable roof that we just saw.
That Jumbotron scoreboard, by the way, in the center, that cost 17 mil. It's 115 feet by 33 feet. Just like the one in your living room there, Singy. 2-1 the count. Crespo waving at the breaking ball for Mike Mussina.
Mussina is doing the job, keeping his club in the game, trying to make sure the Orioles score first this afternoon, keeping the hitters off balance. Good breaking balls, a lot of movement on his fastball. And just about good location. Watch Hoyles' glove. There's a pitch come in near the glove every single pitch. It did on that one.
Crespo giving Mussina a battle here as we get things going in the bottom of the 4th.
Go watch the glove and the pitch. Glove is situated low in the zone. The pitch is low in the zone.
Now the count running full with Carlos Delgado on deck. Mike Mussina going for his 20th win. This is his 4th attempt at his 20th win this year. There's Delgado waiting on deck. Down goes Felipe Crespo. Pulled the string. The Orioles trying to clinch getting into the playoffs here. They're looking to celebrate just like the Orioles did in Milwaukee when they clinched in 1983.
Great. I can't say enough for the people on this team and the organization and the fans of Baltimore have been behind us for years now, and I'm glad we could reward them and all their support, and we'll see them in the playoffs. Well, we got to celebrate 2 more times after that. That was in Milwaukee, clinching the division, and we did it again in the playoffs, beating the White Sox, then beating the Phillies in the World Series, Josh. It was a heck of a year, 83.
Can I douse you with some water right here just to recreate the...
That was not water.
No, I trust that, but just, you know, I don't have what I think you guys were.
Well, it burns, and it's a great sensation, though.
So basically, you wouldn't mind if I...
No, the
reached
water,
over.
sure, but if champagne, if I could live those days again, I would love to do it. But those days are gone.
Delgado, a dangerous hitter. And a guy that has taken a baseball off of that restaurant out there in right field before. A 445-foot home run that almost became a crouton in somebody's salad out there a couple of years ago.
Ooh.
But some smoke from Messina takes care of him this time. Another strikeout from Messina. Now let's get an update on the Yankees and Red Sox. Here's Chip Caray.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Maybe Roger Clemens shouldn't have pitched after all today. He's having a tough time of it. Bernie Williams says, Kapaya. It's a bad fielding crowd today at Fenway Park. One fan was already injured on a Mike Aldrete home run. Everybody okay there. And the Yankees lead 3-1. Don't forget, the Yankees in Texas open up our playoff coverage Wednesday here on Fox.
Well, the Orioles know what it's like to watch the Yankees run around the bases on them. The Orioles have had just a devil of a time beating New York this year. It's a team they might get to face again if they make it into the playoffs. Joe Carter up there, a guy that's certainly been in the playoffs before. Won a World Series for the Blue Jays with that dramatic Game 6, ninth-inning home run against Mitch Williams.
Good numbers again, 30 home runs, 106 runs batted in for Joe Carter. Ninth time in 11 years he's driven in more than 100 runs. But one thing they've said about Carter this year, he's been a little bit more inconsistent. He's been prone to cold and hot streaks. In the past, those 100 RBIs were spread out evenly during the course of the year, but Joe's had some slumps this year.
He's responsible for that banner in '93. And in '92, he closed the curtain on the World Series as well. He's the guy that fielded the ball at first base. Otis Nixon trying to bunt his way on. Mike Timlin down the front slope of the mound, gathering up that baseball, and it was Carter that got to leap in the air 2 years in a row, if you think about it.
So what would you call it, Josh? If put out at first base, then putting one out of the park the next year, they'll win.
I don't know what exactly we should come up with, but it is unusual. I don't know anybody else that's done it.
When you come up with these numbers for Joe Carter, his summers have been busy.
Didn't miss by much. Messina, you can see with that kind of lingering stare, the body language suggesting, okay, then where was it?
Hitters like Delgado and Carter, you want to try and stay away from the fastball counts. You want to get ahead of them. Now this 3-2, you might think the fastball count, but Messina's already shaken off one pitch. Let's see what he goes with.
Tried to bust him inside, but he loses Joe Carter. Only the third base runner of the day for the Toronto Blue Jays, and now Messina against Ed Sprague, the former Stanford Cardinal teammates. You talk about Mike Messina, and again, the criticism has been that he's not a big game pitcher. We'll get back to that in a moment. If you're thinking about running around on Messina, here's the reason why not to try. Against the other big three in that rotation, Wells, Erickson, and Coppinger. It's been a field day out there. Ground ball to third. And they go the short way to second base to end it. And Messina, in a big game situation, is coming up big so far, keeping this game scoreless as we go to the fifth. It's a day where the Orioles fans might be able to rejoice. One win, and they have the clincher. They will be the 1996 American League Wild Card team. Hello. Eddie Murray's a guy that has been in the playoffs. He has helped this Orioles team get back into contention this year. Leading off here against Eric Hansen. And Hansen's made it tough for the Orioles this afternoon. Hansen, when he's on, has the kind of stuff that can twist these Orioles into 220-pound pretzels. Foul ball off the bat of Eddie Murray. Of course, if Hansen's location is bad, if he can't get the curveball over, he is a very hittable commodity. And when he faced the Orioles back at Camden Yards 2 months ago, it looked like the Tyson Selden heavyweight fight. Baltimore chasing Hansen after 1 2/3 innings.
You mean he had a Selden start?
It was
knocked out in the first.
It was more of a McNeely, really.
Yeah.
1 2/3 actually. Got into the second round barely.
Kind of a poor swing by Eddie Murray. He's going to lose his balance, something you don't see Eddie do very often. And it's on an off-speed pitch. This is one of 2 ballparks in the major leagues that Eddie Murray has not homered in. Of course, a lot of the ballparks he's homered in are currently not existing anymore, but...
No!
Asking, did he? As in, did he swing? Ted Hendry says, no, he did not. So it's 2-2.
This place in Coors Field, the only ballparks to escape the wrath of the home runs of Eddie Murray. Eddie said last night, I talked to him this morning, and he said, I'm giving up on trying to hit one here.
Well, the Orioles would settle for a leadoff double right about now, but they will not get it. The breaking stuff has been terrific for Eric Hansen so far. Coming up Wednesday, it's Game 2 of the American League Division Series. It looks like the Rangers against the Yankees. Then on Thursday, Game 2 of the National League Division Series, when the Atlanta Braves battle any one of several teams. Coverage begins at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Check your local listings. What a dynamite time of year this is. Getting on down to the postseason, you play 162 games. In the Orioles' case, officially 163. They had a tie ball game earlier this year. Hard one hopper, Surhoff over there to Ed Sprague, and 2 away.
Well, you mentioned the Atlanta Braves. Now, it's an interesting scenario for them. And you got to figure, what would they like to do? Who would they like to play in the playoffs? Now, if they have a chance to play the St. Louis Cardinals, or they have a chance to go all the way out west and play one of the West Coast teams, depending on what happens in these next 2 days.
All kinds of crazy scenarios, and that's kind of the cool part about the wild card, quite honestly. A lot of people were down on that concept when it first got offered up. Robbie Alomar and Davey Johnson watching on. They've both been in the postseason. Beautiful curve from Eric Hansen. Chris Hoyle's a guy that has not been in the postseason. One-time Detroit Tiger prospect. Traded over to the Orioles in the late 1980s. And one of the guys that takes it personally, really wants to get there.
Well, Hoyles has had several home runs this year in late inning situations that have put the Orioles over the top in ball games. It's really not a breather in the Orioles lineup for any pitcher.
Slams this one away foul. The count 1-2.
I mean, up and down the lineup, 20 home runs here, 20 there, 39 by Palmeiro, 49 by Brady Anderson. Where does the breather, who does the pitcher work around to get to another hitter? There's nobody there.
They can, and it's never been done in the history of baseball. Davey Johnson gets to put out a lineup card with all those different 20 home run hitters. Hoyles is one of them, but he stood there with the bat on his shoulder that time, and he has struck out. We're halfway through it, and still no score.
Fox Saturday Baseball is brought to you by Pizza Hut. You'll love the stuff we're made of. By Michelin, because so much is riding on your tire. By Network MCI, we have the power to put it all together for your business. And by Rogaine, medically proven to regrow hair for men and women.
There's a meeting of the local pessimists union. They've got the umbrellas up even though we're inside today. Underneath the Sky Dome roof, this gargantuan ballpark has seen some pretty impressive, pretty exciting playoff games and playoff caliber games. John Olerud skies one towards the first baseman Palmeiro and traipsing into foul ground. He's got it. This is certainly a game that has a playoff feel. Not at all for Toronto, but for the Orioles, it means everything. When the Blue Jays were in the World Series in 1993, you can take a look at who was out there doing the swinging and the pitching. Dave Stewart, the starting pitcher, he's now retired. Well, Joe Carter, John Olerud, Ed Sprague still here for the Blue Jays. But that's it. Alomar, of course, in the Oriole uniform now. Messina ahead of Sean Green 0-1.
You figure the Blue Jays are going to have to make some moves in the off-season, try and help this club. But one thing I think fans have to remember, this ball club is up for sale. So you usually don't make too many moves when that situation involves your ball club. You can't go out and spend all this money. They just don't want to.
You got enough coin, or are you going to throw your hat into the ownership ring?
Only if you join me, John.
I'm out. I fold. I fold early. With a pair of deuces. Unless I fudge the expense report a little bit.
Cab fare back to the airport, huh?
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. It was a $9,000 cab ride from the hotel. Now, Mike Mussina, the guy that's won about 70% of his big league decisions. And hanging tough here today. You know, there's been some controversy around Mussina lately, because had the Orioles wrapped up the wild card yesterday, had they won, they would have done that. And had today's game been a moot playoff point, Mussina was talking like he still would have wanted to pitch this game today, wanting that 20th win. Which brings up a very interesting question. Had today's game been meaningless in the standings, should Mussina have just said, the heck with 20 wins, I want to rest up, be fresh for the Indians?
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because you would think the playoffs would carry a lot of weight, but according to Mussina, he was going to pitch today and go for number 20 and get in the Orioles record books yet another one of their 20-game winners. And I think it's because of the fact he won 19 last year and didn't quite make it, and would certainly like to get that 20. It looks better on the resume.
This one looped foul out of play. Well, the Orioles, at one point in their history, they had a stretch of 13 years with at least one 20-game winner. That's phenomenal. But almost as phenomenal is the fact that they haven't had a single one since 1984.
Well, Pat Dobson, the pitching coach, is one of those 20-game winners.
Mike Mussina freezes Shawn Green, and that is Mussina's 200th strikeout of 1996. It's been a year where some of the other statistics have been quite ugly for Mussina, but the strikeout numbers have been piling up. There's number 200, and he is now just 2 away from tying Dave McNally for the all-time franchise single-season record.
Off-speed pitch fools Shawn Green. Tries to hold up on this one, can't get the job done, and Jim Joyce was correct when he informed you that, yes, he did. Batter's out. Overhead look.
Alex Gonzalez next to the plate, ahead in the count 1-0. There is Pat Dobson.
Well, one thing Pat is concerned about, and you mentioned it, Josh, that this is the 4th time from Mussina to try for number 20. Good curveball. But I asked Dobson years ago, back in '71, when he won his 20th game, after you got number 19, how many times did it take you to get the number 20? He said, oh, my next start.
Which, of course, was 3 days after the fact and not 4. Well, Mussina seems to have it going on right now. He's a guy that'll show you 5 different pitches during the course of a game. Pat Dobson loves the knuckle curve. He's got 2 different knuckle curves, really, thrown with varying degrees of speed. He's got a fastball, a regular curve, and a change.
Let's go.
Hit him in the hand, and Gonzalez is going to go to first base. I don't know if that caught any of the knob of the bat or not. I'm kind of hoping it did, because you could hear that all the way up here.
It sounded like bat to me, and Gonzalez doesn't look like he's in too much pain. If you get hit in the hand area, let's listen to it and see if we can tell.
That looked like the hand.
Yeah, just the top of the knuckles there. Ooh.
To call this team the Blue Jays, maybe as a misnomer. They've been more the black and blue Jays this year. Nailed by 92 pitches now this year. That is a major league record.
How many people have the Jays hit this year? Usually there's retaliation involved.
No, they're down in the high 30s, I believe. With a runner on, Sandy Martinez at the plate now.
36. They've only retaliated or hit 36. I shouldn't say they retaliated, but they've hit 36. They've been hit over 90 times.
Well, the Orioles, conversely, they don't hit a lot of batters. Not a team that pitches inside a great deal. And earlier this year, that had been a criticism for this Orioles ball club, that they weren't backing the hitters off of the plate.
Years ago, that was the case as well, because they didn't hit hitters years ago. Jim Palmer in that era, Earl Weaver used to tell his pitching staff, we don't get involved in beanball walls because if somebody throws at Eddie Murray and gets him out of the lineup, we're going to be in big trouble. So the Orioles, when Eddie was first coming up, didn't throw at many people.
In the air to shallow left, B.J. Surhoff circling under it and takes care of it all the way through 5 now. And the defensive battle continues between the Orioles and the Blue Jays from Toronto. Underneath Skydome's retractable roof, still nothing into the 6th inning. A day that means a lot to the Orioles. Doesn't mean anything to the Blue Jays except for pride, which the Blue Jays say they've got. Last year in September, they went 7-22. And they don't want to limp into the postseason. They'd like to go out with some glory, and keeping the Orioles out of the playoffs would qualify. Top of the order here, Brady Anderson, then Roberto Alomar and Todd Zeile. Big series for Brady Anderson. Had a home run in the first game of this series, had a home run yesterday. 49 home runs for the year now.
You can see the hitters count right here, 2-0. We can pick and choose. Pretty good pitch from Eric Hansen, a fastball up and in. Just inside the strike zone. It's a difficult pitch to make, so it shows you that Hansen still with the good control here as we get to the later stages of the ball game. He tried it again and missed.
Now Brady Anderson, in his first 1,000 big league at-bats, he had 10 home runs. This year he had 10 homers in his first 88 at-bats. Had a big cut, but now the count down to 3-2. Remember, the next homer for Brady Anderson not only gets the Orioles on the scoreboard here, but it puts them in incredibly select company, joining that 50 home run club.
So Eric Hansen on the year has given up 25 home runs, second most on the Blue Jays club. But today he's done a good job of keeping the ball down and keeping the ball in the park. Getting double play balls when he needs it.
A shot out there to right center field, but the second baseman going back, and Crespo over his shoulder to retire Brady Anderson. And the Orioles have not had a hit since Surhoff's leadoff double back in the third.
You mentioned Crespo, the heir apparent to Robbie Alomar. Alomar coming to the plate now. That was an Alomar-type play, going back over the shoulder with the catch as the boos cascade from high within the reaches of the Sky Dome this afternoon with Alomar coming to the plate.
Davey Johnson disturbed at what happened yesterday. Alomar and the home plate umpire, John Hirschbeck, and look out, Alomar spinning out of the way. And I don't like the fact that they're cheering that here at Sky Dome.
Well, you know the fans are going to react favorably to anything that goes wrong for Alomar this afternoon, including being spun out of the way.
Ground ball to short. Smooth play by Gonzalez to retire Roberto Alomar. There's still plenty of aftermath that lingers from that incident yesterday. Again, if you missed it, Alomar, who had struck out, went back to the dugout, and while in the dugout, got thrown out of the game by Hirschbeck. Now, there's a valid criticism to say that Hirschbeck maybe shouldn't have had the rabbit ears out listening for whatever Alomar was saying. But the point at which Alomar came out and spit in the face of John Hirschbeck,
yeah, you can't take that.
No, that's the point where you kind of lose the respect for Alomar a little bit.
Well, the umpire usually tells you one more word. And I believe Hirschbeck did say that, and Alomar did issue one more word, or a few words, and was tossed out of the game.
Alomar's contention is that Hirschbeck baited him, called him a nasty name.
Okay.
But that still doesn't mean you spit in the face of an umpire.
Well, let's put it this way. There's fault on both sides here,
right,
if nasty names are involved. Oh.
I think you can say, really, that both men were out of line.
Yeah, well.
But Alomar is a guy that will be remembered. I mean, the video doesn't show John Hirschbeck spitting on anybody. That came out of Alomar's mouth.
I think that, Josh, you're right. The bad thing about the whole thing is that in big games, you need your best players in there. You shouldn't be getting tossed out of games.
The Orioles draw a base runner here. Todd Zeile, stuck in an 0 for 23 slump, gets on base pretty easily. Eddie Murray, the veteran influence on this team, talking now with Roberto Alomar. And it's not like Alomar's a 21, 22-year-old kid. A lot of people are saying right now, kind of shaking their heads, he should know better than to do what he did yesterday. Rafael Palmeiro, dangerous batter. With a man on, you check your Fox box, upper left-hand corner, and there is a base hit in the right field for Palmeiro. Zeile plays it safely. Scampers back to second. 2 on for Bobby Bonilla as the Orioles mount a 2-out threat in the top of the 6th, looking to break on top in this game. A game that can push them into the postseason if they win it.
Well, David Johnson seen his hitters come through time and time again this year with the big hits. Certain times, Bonilla's been one of the hottest hitters, one of the guys he would like to have at the plate in this situation. Zeile, good base running, heads up with 2 outs. You don't want to get thrown out at third base, so he holds. Shawn Green has a good arm in right field. So Bonilla is set up with at least 1 runner in scoring position.
And it's the first hit today for the Orioles with a runner on base. Strike 1 to Bobby Bonilla, who, like Zeile, is stuck in a spin right now. Bonilla 2 for his last 25. You have to admire the way Hansen has been moving the ball around on these Oriole hitters today.
He's just not throwing the ball to the plate. Now, that up and in pitch, let's see if he goes back with that changeup away. He started Bonilla off with the changeup away. Now, he shook off 1 pitch, shakes off another. Sometimes that could be a decoy as well. There's the changeup away. My point being that sometimes pitchers will stand on the mound and shake off a pitch, and all the time that's the pitch they want to throw. They make the catcher go through the whole series of signs until they come back to that very same pitch. That's supposed to throw off the thinking of the hitters.
Breaking ball has Bonilla chasing. Bonilla trying to clutch up just like his boyhood hero Eddie Murray has done so many times during his Oriole and otherwise major league career. Hansen and Sandy Martinez trying to get together on signs. What do you do with Bobby Bonilla here on 2-2, 2 on, 2 out?
He's thrown a lot of changeups today. The signs change with the runner at second base. They're not as simple as that's why you saw several signs. Wiggling of the hand, that's usually a changeup.
Keep in mind the runners will be on the move now with a full count and 2 outs. A scoreless game in the 6th inning. Bases loaded, and all of this happening with 2 out. Cal Ripken is going to come to the plate for Baltimore now. Eddie Murray moves on deck.
Well, he came with a 3-2 changeup and couldn't throw it over for a strike, and now it's set up Mr. Ripken, who's been up in these situations and many, many times before. Davey Johnson maybe knowing that this could be the inning that will put the Orioles over the top in this game.
14-time All-Star Cal Ripken. He was there in 1983 when the Orioles made it to the World Series, won the World Series. The Orioles have not been back since.
Well, he was a big part, the most valuable player in the American League in 1983. His 2nd year in the league, full year.
Strike is in there. We've talked about Cal's streak of 2,315 consecutive games. Cal is on a team that's got a streak of about 2,100 games right now that have all been regular season games. Nothing in the postseason. Davey Johnson has been there as a player and as a manager, trying to get there again.
Slider away, fastball in. It's the first inning that Hansen's really been challenged. Maybe the 2nd inning. A little up. Ripken leaning out over the plate. That's why he had to change direction real quickly at the end.
Ripken, by the way, has hit in 15 of his last 16 games. And the ball getting away. He bounced one up there. Sandy Martinez can't get it. The Orioles, on a wild pitch, have the lead in the 6th inning. They still have not gotten the clutch hit today, but they do have the lead.
Well, sometimes it doesn't have to be pretty how you score. You'll take the runs. Wild pitch, Martinez can't get in front of it. Ball gets away from him and far enough away for the runner to score from third. Todd Zeile. Reaction to Davey Johnson. He knows his club has the lead. with a tough pitcher working for him this afternoon.
Base hit now. Scores a couple more, you'd think. Grabbed over there at short by Alex Gonzalez. Kind of like Cal Ripken grabbed that Gary Maddox humpback liner to end the 1983 World Series. 1-0, Baltimore. Today's Men in Trivia question coming up right now. We want to know how many pages in the Orioles media guide are dedicated to Cal Ripken. A bunch. B, nothing because of printer's error. You can choose 1, 8, 26, or 52. And we'll get you the correct response coming up. Cal Ripken was at the plate when the Orioles took the lead on a wild pitch in the top of inning 6. We're now in the bottom of the inning. Jacob Brumfield batting. Curve snaps in there from Mike Messina, who has recorded only 2 fly ball outs in this game, Ken.
He has been excellent, particularly the breaking ball. His changeup has been very good, just as Hansen's has been, and he spotted his fastball pretty well. Here's a look at the wild pitch to Cal Ripken. Usually a catcher wants the ball to bounce in front of him. This one does not, as it gets away from Sandy Martinez, and the Orioles are able to score their run. Ball deflects off of him and on back towards the backstop.
Well, now we see what Mike Messina can do, trying to preserve the lead. Messina has pitched the only Oriole shutout all season. Over to third. Todd Zeile was in and ready for it. 1 up, 1 away in the 6th. Now back to that Men in Trivia question. How many pages in the Orioles media guide are dedicated to Cal Ripken? There are your choices again, A through F. We'll give you credit if you said a bunch, but really it's E, 26 pages. There's a lot to tell about Cal Ripken Jr. Felipe Crespo at the plate. He's got a half a page in the Toronto guide. This is a guy that the Blue Jays like quite a bit. A lot of the scouts say he's a budding young Carlos Baerga. A one-time third baseman converted to second. Switch hitter with a little bit of pop. Hits for average. Steals the occasional base.
I like Jim Joyce, the way he calls the game. Reminds me of an umpire years ago, Lee Wire. Lee would not. He'd say, that's a ball, up and in. 57 degrees, kind of a cool night.
Mike Messina just continues to deal. And that criticism still ringing in his ears about not able to get that 20th win when the team needed him just to get a win.
If he keeps pitching like this today, he'll get a win, number 20. The Orioles will be on their way.
Mike Messina, when he was at Stanford, pitched in some pretty big ball games there. It's not like he's never been in a pressure situation. Stanford going on to the College World Series a couple times when Mike was there.
Ooh.
That is a great-looking pitch, and Crespo overmatched today. He has struck out 3 times. 6 strikeouts for Messina today, 201 for the year.
Yeah, he does have a 12 to 6 curveball as well. 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Lights out.
'27-year-old Mike Messina has always pitched well against his Toronto team. Maybe because of that history with Cito Gaston, maybe not. Maybe it's just coincidence. But a 2.33 ERA for his career against the Blue Jays. Tough out right here. Carlos Delgado, 25 home runs. In the left. 2 out base hits.
Well, one key to getting Delgado out is to throw him a lot of breaking balls and all-speed stuff. He's a great fastball hitter, has a lot of power. To try and stay away from the heat, but he picked on a breaking ball looking for it and went the other way. Got a nice piece of hitting done there. Every once in a while, you got to give a hitter credit for hitting a tough pitch.
Delgado representing the exciting youth of this Toronto team. Now here's the veteran influence, Joe Carter, who has been on base today with a walk. A win for the Orioles means they are the wild card entry from the American League.
A lot of nervous energy on that bench. They might look quiet, but
Carter with a base hit into right field, and Delgado playing it very safely will stop at second. So now the Blue Jays with some two-out thunder and lightning. The Orioles able to get that done in the top of the sixth with two out. They loaded the bases, got a run across.
I don't think it's a situation they're going to get a little too antsy here. Joe Carter taking what Mussina gives him. Kind of an inside-out swing. Hits one through the hole with the runner being held on. And what Carter accomplishes is moving a runner into scoring position. And here's Ed Sprague, 99 RBIs.
So some personal glory at stake here, but also a base hit can tie the ball game. Outfield around the left against Ed Sprague. Remember, Sprague and Mussina, former college teammates. Sprague's dad is the Oriole scout who signed Mike Mussina. How much grief did Ed Sprague Sr. take for that, do you figure? He signed Mike Mussina, but he couldn't land his own son. The Blue Jays drafted him first. I'll tell you, that was a nice-looking cut by Sprague. He didn't miss the pitch by much.
Yeah, it was a challenging high fastball, and Mussina got it just high enough. A little bit lower in the zone. That ball might have been tattooed. Upper shelf with this pitch, and Sprague can't get on top of it. And that's the effect of the changeups and the good curve that Mussina's had. Hitters are just off a little bit. They're caught in between.
There are your runners at first and second. Past Mussina into center field. It'll be a tie ball game. Joe Carter stops at second. Delgado scores 3 consecutive singles for Toronto. The meat and potatoes of that order. Cashing in a run and finally getting this Blue Jay crowd to come to life.
There have been 2 hits on curveballs this inning. Delgado got it started with 2 outs when he hit one to the opposite field. Then the base hit on the fastball. This is on another curve. And Sprague hit it like he was looking for it. Now, it wasn't the best location of the day. And he rifles it through the middle. Delgado rounding third, carrying the mail with the tying run.
And there's RBI 100 for Ed Sprague. Well, in Seattle and in Chicago, they have to like that base hit a lot. They are hanging barely in Seattle and Chicago on the hopes that the Orioles will go 0-2 these last couple games, today and tomorrow. Seattle would have to run the table. Chicago would have to go 2-0. Olerud up there 0 for 2 this afternoon. And once again, Mussina is behind in the count 1-0. And thinking back here, Ken, it looks like, I believe these last 4 hitters have all been ahead of 1-0.
Been ahead on the count. That's the difference, because the next pitch, if you have to throw a strike, you catch too much of the plate. You're working uphill when you fall behind on the count.
Slams it in there for a strike, and John Olerud having a tough time. He's a .278 hitter, lifetime .295 hitter, but against Mussina, the eyes light up a little bit.
Blue Jays would like him to pull the ball a little bit more. Speaking of Olerud, drive the ball and pick up more RBIs and runs score. They feel like he's trying to hit the ball the other way too much.
We talked about Olerud being a lifetime .295 hitter. How come the Blue Jay fans aren't impressed by that? It's because Olerud set the bar so high for himself when he hit .363 a couple of years ago. So as his batting average has nosedived to the 270s.
Yeah, they were talking about Ted Williams in those days.
Well, they're talking about another former Red Sox, George Scott. The one's bottomed out from .303 to a .171. In the air to right. Bobby Bonilla says, I'll take care of it. He's got it. And that's the inning. A 1-1 tie through 6. We'll be back in Toronto after these messages from your local station. You're watching Fox, home of the 1996 World Series. Out of the 7th inning at Skydome in Toronto, a 1-1 tie suddenly. Pat Dobson, Oriole pitching coach on the left, chatting it up with Davey Johnson, the Oriole manager, talking about Mike Messina maybe having gotten through his one tightrope inning and only giving up 1 run.
Josh, they could also be talking about the bullpen selection on the day if Messina comes out in the next inning and struggles. But you're right, when pitchers are pitching well, as both Messina and Hansen are, they might have 1 inning where you can get to them. But each giving up just 1 run last inning, and the game is tied. It's just as if it was 0-0 right now.
So that means buckle up as we get down here to the last third of the ball game. Eddie Murray loops 1 foul. Falls behind to the count 1-2.
You know, one thing Hansen has done today, he's made a good pitch with the fastball up and in. That's a tough pitch for a hitter to get to. You really have to be looking for it. And
has reached out and golfed that one over to first base. John Olerud takes it, 1 down. The home run bats have stayed on the bat rack so far for the Orioles. Pat Gillick, the Oriole general manager, with his assistant Kevin Malone, maybe tallying up all the home runs that the Orioles have hit this year. Brady Anderson, no matter what bat he pulls out of there, you know that he's got a chance to be Wonder Boy. He's hit 49 home runs.
not only have the Orioles hit a lot of home runs, these guys are good hitters as well.
Surhoff, part of the 20 or more home run club. Today, a double, and he is bounced out. What a luxury for Davey Johnson, riding out a lineup that features all those 20 or 30 or even 40 home run hitters. Surhoff, by the way, hasn't hit a home run since August 18th. The Orioles looking for some production from BJ right now. He really started off the season wonderfully, but mid-August on through to about mid-September, he had cooled down. And there he sends one to right field towards the pole. Fair or foul? It is a... We're waiting. BJ Surhoff is going to touch them all. A home run for Surhoff just inside the pole. And what a time for that first home run in 6 weeks' time. Jim McKeon never gave us an indication, never spun that index finger round and round, but Surhoff continued around the bases. He's not yet been called back.
Well, Davey Johnson has seen his team hit 255 home runs. The last one might have been the most important of the season, or one of the most important of the season.
Longtime Milwaukee Brewer, B.J. Surhoff, giving the Orioles the lead. Boyles looks at a fastball away. We'll see if we can pick it up here. That blast by B.J. Surhoff.
Just inside the fair pole.
Boyles jammed, pops it up. Who wants it? Crespo says, I will take it. B.J. Surhoff, who has never hit well against Mr. Hansen, well, he's picked a nice time today to break out with a double and his 21st home run of the year. Yeah, we weren't the only ones that were waiting there. Look, nobody knows whether to celebrate or not. There you go. Brent Bauer says, you know, I think that went out.
That's a typical shot when the ball's hitting the air well. Everybody jumps off the bench to get a good look at it in concert.
Now Brady Anderson up there.
Well, we saw one angle there that showed it was definitely a fair ball, and maybe that's why you didn't get the distinctive sign that it was out of the ballpark.
A big curveball from Hansen. Gets him ahead in the count, but B.J. Surhoff, for right now, stands to be the Oriole hero. Of course, there are still 9 outs left to get. Mike Mussina will be charged with getting them.
I can recall scoring a run in the playoffs in '79 in the ball game. If we had won, it would have sent us to the World Series. Scored the first run of the game. Blood was rushing through my veins as I got back to the dugout. I jumped into the dugout and was caught by my teammates in Anaheim. Just raced in on a sacrifice fly and just ran straight to the dugout and jumped in. Thing about it, though, we lost the game. But we came back and won the next day.
Line shot and just fouled. Brady Anderson been on base a couple times today. Davey Johnson says Brady Anderson reminds him of Bobby Bonds, leadoff guy that could beat you with his speed and the long ball. And Davey said that in spring training before the 49 home runs. Pass Hansen. And Crespo's got to hurry. He unloads and gets his man. The Surhoff home run gives the Orioles the lead at the 7th inning stretch. Orioles have taken the lead on this B.J. Surhoff home run.
Well, you can see the ball right in here. It's going to pass in fair territory as Surhoff with his 21st home run of the year.
Never was the maxim about baseball being a game of inches more true than right there. And Surhoff has given the O's a 2-1 lead. Now it's up to Mike Mussina to keep this lead. And Mussina, despite the back-to-back-to-back singles last inning, now he's got 6 strikeouts today. He's shown a great curveball and a fastball with some life as well. Pops up Shawn Green. Brady Anderson has it for the first out of the bottom of the 7th inning.
Both Mussina and Hansen have pitched well with that fastball in. Jamming hitters, when the right-handed pitcher has a good changeup, he makes the hitters, the left-handed hitters, have to hang over the plate looking for the change. Then they bust you inside with the up-and-in fastball. Mussina's done it well today. Hansen has 2. Hansen missed with 1 to Surhoff, and that's the difference in this game.
Number 8 batter Alex Gonzalez standing in. The Orioles have not had a 20-game winner since Mike Boddicker in 1984. And Mussina can become a 20-game winner today against 11 losses. As much as Mike Mussina wants that 20th win, you got to figure there's something just a shade more important than that, you would hope. If the Orioles hang on to this 1-run lead, they are in the playoffs. They have the luxury of resting David Wells if they want to tomorrow as well, maybe save him. See, that's why the Orioles in this game today is really so important, Ken, if you think about it. Pat Henkin's going to be pitching for Toronto tomorrow. He's going to go after his 20th win. And you know the Blue Jays are going to want to try and get it for him. Henkin on the mound, a guy who shut down Davey Johnson's club all year. That is not an easy situation. You feel a lot better if you don't have to worry about facing Henkin in terms of what it means for the postseason. And again, David Wells, if the Orioles decide to do it, they could sit him down and go with him in game 1 of the series. It would be against the Cleveland Indians, starting in Baltimore.
Also, you could give some of your regulars some time off, with the exception of Cal Ripken. He'll at least start the game.
He got it over that outside black, and Mike Mussina, with 7 strikeouts today, has tied Dave McNally. 202 strikeouts, most ever in a single season by a Baltimore Oriole.
A well-spotted pitch. Chris Hoyle, well, maybe pulled it back in a little bit, but it was certainly on the outer half where he wanted it, if this pitch is a strike.
Now Sandy Martinez, who's actually been a tough out from the number 9 spot in the order. Missed the past few games with the stomach flu.
Yeah, from the center field camera, watching a pitcher work, his artistry, if you will, speaking of Mussina, today he's been able to move the ball around at will. Now, I'm not speaking of Clark because he's not in the lineup for the Blue Jays, but the fact is he's moved his pitches around quite well.
Checked his swing, apparently, and now a ball, 2 strikes to count.
One pitch setting up the next one.
And if he can get by Martinez here, Mussina and the Orioles would then have 6 outs to go. Looking to wrap it up. Remember, the Yankees wrapped up their wild card on this very field last year. The Yankees got in the postseason this year, scoring 19 runs, beating up on Milwaukee 19-2. How about the Orioles now with a chance to cement their postseason by only scoring 2 runs today?
This might be the first time the Orioles, first or second time he's been to the mound today. That's how much in sync he and his pitcher have been this afternoon here at Skydome. So they're just talking over what they want to do. They don't want to make any mistakes from this point on. The good teams from the 7th inning on, the pitchers are crisp, defense is tight, and you can get your big hits when you need them. That's been the trademark of the Orioles in the past.
Pat Dobson looking on. I'm sure he knows that number we just saw. Mussina's up and over that 100-pitch level, but he's working on his standard 4 days rest today, so you figure he's still got some gas left in the tank.
Yeah, it's interesting. Over the years, I've talked to hitters that maybe retired or still playing. When they've hit home runs, they can tell you what pitch it was, where it was in the zone, and all that sort of thing. I can remember home runs I hit from years ago. But I've also talked to the pitchers, and pitchers can tell you almost pitch by pitch how they got people out. That's how high the concentration level is.
On the ground and foul. Martinez giving Mussina a battle.
Think of Jim Palmer. He has almost total recall of just about every pitch that he threw in years gone by for the Orioles.
Now your modern-day Oriole battery, Mussina and Hoyles. Tried to ram a fastball in there. Now the count is 3-2, and the top of the order on deck. Jacob Brumfield waiting.
Well, they cut fastball that they kind of hold off center, rides in on the hands of the left-handed hitter.
Still 3 balls, 2 strikes, and the pitch count ticking away here for Mike Mussina.
Well, until he gets in trouble, I don't think you'll see anybody up in the bullpen. This is his ball game to finish at this point.
Got his man, Mike Mussina, with a new Oriole franchise record for strikeouts in one season. That one ends the 7th. It puts the Orioles 6 outs away from the playoffs. Well, they watch on. The Orioles brain trust, Kevin Malone, you saw, and Pat Gillick, Lou Angelos, one of the sons of Oriole owner Peter Angelos. And they're watching an Orioles team that's come to within 2 innings of making the postseason. Roberto Alomar leads off. The former Blue Jay 0 for 3 today. He's hit the ball on the ground to the shortstop 3 times. That .328 batting average significant, as the all-time Oriole franchise record for best single-season batting average is .328. Ken Singleton set that standard back in 1977.
Well, if Robbie Alomar happens today and tomorrow to top that record, if he does it, he's a quality hitter. I wouldn't mind losing it to a quality hitter, not to somebody who is having a fluke year and going from 260 to 330 or whatever. But Alomar's hit and hit for years.
Not this time, and Ken Singleton's record stays safe for the moment, although I agree with you. I think if he doesn't get it this year, he's got some more years where it's...
Exactly.
Yeah. At the conclusion of today's game, Ken and I will be selecting the Chevrolet player of the game. There have been offensive stars, pitching stars today. It's an Oriole team that has played its fair share of 8-7, 9-8, 11-10 games this year. They're hanging on 2-1 today, trying to advance to the playoffs. Todd Zeile has seen his slump continue today with that 0 for 2 performance.
But the 0 for 2, the walk was important.
You saw the ice pack on B.J. Surhoff's knee. Did he pull a Kirk Gibson on us here today? Did he limp around those bases?
I don't think it was quite as extreme, but
well, as of right now, the Surhoff home run will stand as the Baltimore drama. A ball that just twisted inside the right field foul pole. The other night, the Orioles hit both foul poles when they won 4-1, getting that magic number down. Anderson took one, clipping off the inside of the right field foul pole. Cal Ripken hit the left field pole. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Todd Zeile. One-time Philadelphia Philly and Cardinal and Chicago Cub. Eddie Murray trying to get there again in the playoffs.
and I was amazed at a very young age how much Eddie Murray knew about this game. He knew about watching pitchers giving away some of their pitches. He'd give me some advice when I went up to the plate.
Smash but foul this time by Zeile, 3-2.
And this was about 3 years into Eddie's career, and he'd come down to me in the dugout. He'd say, you know, every time he fixes his hands in his glove, he's usually coming with a certain pitch, or the way he holds the ball. Look for it. You can only see it when he's winding up. And I was amazed that he could pick these things up. And, of course, I was a veteran and never saw anything like that. Usually you don't get that type of advice from a younger player. Little keys to the game. Shows you how much he's involved in the games and how much he watches them.
Called out on strikes is Todd Zeile. A rough couple of weeks continuing for him. 2 down, Rafael Palmeiro coming up. Well, I tell you, with Murray, here's a guy that just kind of consistent and steady. He's never had a 35 home run year. He's never led his league in any offensive category. The star status is not something that Murray is real comfortable with. When Murray was at his finest in the early 80s, he wore a necklace that said just regular. I think that sums it up beautifully.
Best player I ever played with. As far as RBI's situation, look out.
Getting away from Eric Hansen just a little bit. Now Palmeiro. We'll take a look at this again here.
Well, here's the setup of the target inside, but nobody's going to be able to stop this pitch.
Yo, Mark.
Whoa. Palmeiro wondering what's going on here.
Clubs this one, but to left field and playable. Joe Carter waiting. And that's it for the top of the 8th. In the bottom of the 8th, the top of the order coming for Toronto against Mike Messina, clinging to a 2-1 lead. Closer and closer come the Baltimore Orioles now to advancing into the postseason and making the Seattle-Oakland game later today a moot point. Same for Chicago and Minnesota. It's on the shoulders of Mike Messina, at least for now. He has thrown 108 pitches. And really, except for one brief struggle in the 6th inning, he's been terrific. Working on a 4-hitter. Top of the order, Jacob Brumfield, 0 for 3 today. Going after the very first pitch, fouls one away.
Well, pitch count certainly important as far as Messina is concerned. They want to make sure that he has enough left in the tank. Nothing going on in the Orioles bullpen at this point. As I said, I think that Messina, as long as he does not show any signs of getting in trouble, they're going to let him finish this game.
There is some action just as we speak. The Orioles are going to get some guys ready just in case. In that bullpen, Armando Benitez, the right-hander. At the left part of your screen, Jesse Orozco, the lefty on the right side. Messina with 2 strikes on a batter. He has learned a lesson this year. He lost a game when he served up an 0-2 meatball to the Yankees' Derek Jeter earlier this season. He hit it out for the game-winning home run. You don't see Mike Messina grooving an 0-2 pitch anymore. Right down the chute for strike 3 called, and 9 strikeouts for Mike Messina. And the guy that's coming up to face him next, Felipe Crespo, has struck out 3 times himself.
There's only been 2 innings in this game where Messina hasn't picked up a strikeout. And once again, an up-and-in fastball gets the job done. One of the keys in tight ball games for pitchers to get that first hitter of the inning out. And Messina has been able to do it in every inning but the 3rd.
Davey Johnson looking for 5 more outs. And no matter what happens from this point on, Ken, you got to figure that stigma about Mike Messina not being a big game pitcher is kind of blown away. In the wild card picture as it is right now, the Orioles 2 ahead of the White Sox, 2.5 on Seattle. Seattle would make up that half game only if necessary. A rained out game against the Cleveland Indians earlier this month. Right now, that would not be necessary for the Mariners to make the trip if the Orioles hang on here. Chomping on the sunflower seeds and hoping for the best. Pat Dobson and Davey Johnson. A looper to the second baseman, Alomar. Peels it down to 4 outs remaining. If Baltimore does win this game, they would go on to face the Cleveland Indians, a team they were 5-7 against this year. And very interesting. Baltimore and Cleveland, of course, a rivalry established because Cleveland's football team has gone to Baltimore. Cleveland is not a big fan of that city.
Davey Johnson, he could sense it now. He's ready to pop off of that seat with the final out.
Delgado shoots one foul.
So we do have some dangerous hitters for the Jays here before this is a done deal. Delgado has some power, 25 homers. Carter has 30. Sprague has 35. Olerud has 18. So there are some hitters that you're going to have to get out, and some tough ones.
Well, these next 3 hitters, Delgado, Carter, Sprague, they have 75% of the hits today for Toronto, 3 out of the 4. But a fastball blown behind Delgado. Looking for his 20th win, Mike Messina. Went after that one, but into center field, and Brady Anderson says it's playable. It is. An inning to go for the Baltimore Orioles to reach the 1996 postseason. 1 inning to go for the Baltimore Orioles in their postseason quest. Pat Gillick in the white shirt. He's steered the Toronto Blue Jays to the postseason a few times as their general manager. Now with the Orioles, and Davey Johnson was the guy that encouraged Pat Gillick to take that general manager's job. Johnson being hired before the new general manager, and that's something that a lot of the baseball pundits thought was odd, but as it turned out, Davey Johnson, poolside with Pat Gillick at a hotel in Arizona, talked Pat Gillick into meeting Oriole owner Peter Angelos, giving it a shot. Gillick liked what he heard about the situation. Now here he is, most ironically in Toronto, and he's going to perhaps like this situation that unfolds today. The Orioles need to escape the 9th inning and maybe try to add to the lead here against Dane Johnson, a guy that signed with the Blue Jays way back in '84, spent 6 years in A-ball, 2 years in Taiwan. And finally to the major leagues, facing Bobby Bonilla. Ken Singleton, by the way, is heading downstairs, and if the Orioles indeed wrap things up, Ken Singleton will be standing by to talk to some of the Baltimore players and the coaching staff. Bonilla today 0 for 2 with a walk, and one of the concerns perhaps for the Orioles, if indeed they're heading now into the postseason, Got to get a couple of these big boppers back on track. Bobby Bonilla, 2 for his last 25. Todd Zeal, 1 for his last 33. But in fairness, those were 2 of the guys that lifted them in the early part of September. Hard shot over to shortstop. Alex Gonzalez wings it across, 1 down. Not to be presumptuous, but if Baltimore does win today, here's how the Orioles and Indians would match up in that first round of the playoffs. You see, the Indians have the season series 7-5. Not a lot of pitching in that series, to put it mildly. Albert Bell was tremendous against Baltimore this year. Look at all those home runs, 48 total in 12 games played. Cal Ripken shoots one in the left center field, and the Orioles trying to pad the lead to have Ripken on with 1 man out. Second to hit today for the Oriole veteran, the Iron Man. Says he never really appreciated when he won a World Series in 1983 what it was like. Only in talking to guys like Rafael Palmeiro does he understand that you better appreciate it, not take it for granted. Palmeiro, in his 11th year in Major League Baseball, has never been to the playoffs. Eddie Murray drives one to right field as Shawn Green circling. Looking like a moth going after that one, but finally is able to catch up to it for the second out. Allowed a second out for Eddie Murray, and now B.J. Surhoff, who stands to be among the stars of the game if this lead continues for Baltimore. Surhoff in the 7th inning with 1 out. Driving one just inside the foul pole. Down that right field line, his first home run since August the 18th. And they go right after him this time. Surhoff, coming into today, had only 9 extra base hits in the last 8 weeks. He's got 2 extra base hits today. Cal Ripken, one of the more analytical players in baseball, tries to read as much as he can into slumps. B.J. Surhoff the same way. He wonders, he worries, he looks at video, he hits off the batting tee. And Davey Johnson trying to get across the old Yogi Berra maxim. How can you think and hit at the same time? He's asked B.J. Surhoff just to relax. Today he's got a double and a homer. Slider that time from Dane Johnson, a good pitch. Well, as you look ahead to the 9th inning for Toronto, Joe Carter, Ed Sprague, and John Olerud. Maybe the 3 most dangerous hitters on the roster. Mike Messina's given the team 8 strong innings. Time had been called, no throw over there. So do you go to the bullpen in the 9th inning if you're Davey Johnson, or do you let Mike Messina come out to finish what he started? Armando Benitez is warming, and B.J. Surhoff has gone swinging to the bottom of the 9th. And the Orioles, as close as they've been to the playoffs since 1983. Well, having squeezed 118 pitches out of Mike Messina today, Davey Johnson has gone and made the call to the bullpen not to go get Randy Myers, by the way. New catcher in there, Mark Parent. Randy Myers has been the closer all year. He's getting paid a lot of money to be closing out ball games, but instead of Randy Myers on the mound, it is the youngster Armando Benitez, who has a save in each of his last 3 appearances, 4 for 4 this year in save opportunities. And as much as Benitez struggled last year, and as much as he's been hurt this year, well, he's only allowed 1 walk and 1 hit in his last 6 outings, about 6 innings of work. He throws gas. 96, 97 miles an hour when he's on. And maybe part of the thinking for Davey Johnson, Joe Carter leading off here, a career 0 for 6 against Benitez. Carter 9 for 29 against Mike Mussina. A win gives the Orioles a postseason berth. Now keep in mind, Armando Benitez, young, pliable, a lot of talent, but prone to bouts of wildness sometimes. Gets Carter to chase a fastball that was up around belly button level. 1 ball, 1 strike. Carter, Sprague, and Olerud here in the last of the 9th inning. The Orioles project this fellow as a Lee Smith type. Armando Benitez throws hard, but with abs of steel. Very well chiseled, well put together young man. All new battery, Benitez and Mark Parent working here. Too high, 2 balls and a strike. The Orioles got a wonderful effort from Mike Mussina today. It is now up to Armando Benitez to get the save and get Mussina his 20th win of the season. Veteran Pete Incaviglia hoping that he can find himself in the postseason again. He was on the losing end of the Toronto Blue Jays right here in 1993. Hard hit, but foul. And perhaps Benitez getting away with one right there, 2-2. Tough inning for Cuticles right now. Those are a lot of the coaches that have the hands clenched together. Strike 3 called. Armando Benitez rings it up on the outside corner. Joe Carter doesn't think so. But Armando Benitez fires one by the dangerous Joe Carter, World Series hero of just a couple years ago. Take another look. The heat from Armando Benitez. Does it tail on that outside corner? I believe it does. Take another look. He might have sliced off that front part of the plate before tailing away. Now Ed Sprague coming up. 1 ball, no strikes. Ken Singleton standing by, and if the Orioles get 2 more outs, we'll throw it down to him to capture some of the Orioles' immediate reaction. Ed Sprague has hit one well to left field. Ed Sprague has tied the game. Two lefties coming up now, Olerud and Green. And for that reason, it looks like Davey Johnson's going to make another move. He had Benitez out there to get the 2 slugging right-handers. He dispatched of Joe Carter, but Ed Sprague goes yard. His 36th home run of the year, the 2nd RBI for him today. And you can almost hear the second guessing from here in Toronto. Back in Baltimore, they've got to be wondering. Why not stay with Mussina? Why not bring on the erstwhile closer, Randy Myers? Benitez gives up the home run. We are tied 2-2. Davey Johnson knows Mike Mussina will not win his 20th game this year. He is going to stay stuck on 19. Armando Benitez came on, gave up a 1-out home run to Ed Sprague, Mussina's former college teammate. And the fellow whose dad signed Mike Mussina to an Orioles contract, hitting one out to tie the game off Armando Benitez, and now Randy Myers comes on to face a pinch hitter. Juan Samuel to the plate, a right-hander. 2-2 game. And Myers gets Samuel to chase the first one. Palmeiro straying into foul ground, and he has got it for out number 2 here in the 9th. The Baltimore Orioles were 2 outs away from going to the postseason, no questions asked. Now they've got to hope for a little bit of overtime today. You see, Robert Perez's name has already been written in on that lineup card. He's going to be the pinch hitter right now for Toronto. Perez, a guy that is not that patient. He'll go up there just hacking. If he hacks one out, Toronto wins. Interesting with Randy Myers on now. He had been very critical of Davey Johnson for losing faith in him as closer a couple weeks ago. Myers was lifted in a big ball game against the Yankees when the Orioles and Yankees were still jockeying for that American League East Division title. Myers thought he should have kept the ball all the way through to the bitter end. He did not in the 9th inning. Johnson playing the percentages in the 9th inning. Davey Johnson going with his right-hander, Armando Benitez, to face Carter and Sprague. He struck out Carter, but Sprague hit the homer, and now Johnson goes and gets Myers. Each man formerly with the New York Mets. Now here is Myers falling behind 3-1. Alex Gonzalez waiting on deck. And Gonzalez will get a chance to hit. As the winning run now is off for first base, Perez, we talked about the fact that he's not a patient hitter. 200 at-bats this year, and he had only walked 7 times. But Myers puts him on 5 pitches, and now it's another right-hander coming up there, Gonzalez. And by the way, is 1 for 2 against Myers. He is 0 for 2 today. He's been hit by a pitch. Could be yet another pinch hitter if this inning continues. Charlie O'Brien has come out on deck for Toronto. So now it's in the hands of the veteran Randy Myers, trying to get the Orioles to the 10th inning. 2 balls, no strikes, and Myers does work that outside of the plate even when he's going well. That's the area where the pitches are going to be. Of course, he doesn't want to sport him too far outside and fall behind a guy like Gonzalez 2-0. Winning run at first. That's your red dot in your Fox box. The folks in Chicago and Seattle suddenly are Blue Jays fans. If Toronto can pull this out, the White Sox game will mean something today. The Mariners game will mean something against Oakland. 3 balls and a strike now. Myers ran the count to that, to Perez, and now here with Gonzalez as well. In there on that outside black 3-2. Davey Johnson hoping his team will be able to send up in the 10th inning. Hoyles, Anderson, Alomar, 9-1-2 in the order. Baltimore taking a 2-1 lead into the bottom of the 9th. Mike Mussina taken out of the game after 118 pitches. He had allowed only 4 hits, all of them singles. He had struck out 9. Alomar has the line drive at second base, and extra innings upon us in Toronto. To the 10th, where Chris Hoyles, actually Mark Perrin now in his place, will lead off for Baltimore. Randy Myers has gotten the Orioles into the 10th inning, but not before damage was done. Ed Sprague did that damage against not Randy Myers, but Armando Benitez. And Randy Myers on record is saying he doesn't want to be in a situation with a closer 1A and a closer 1B. He wants to be the guy Mike Devereaux, pinch hitting, leads off here against Dane Johnson in the 10th and a foul ball. The Orioles now will have to go with their third-string catcher in the bottom of the 10th, Cesar Devarez. Chris Hoyle's out of the game when Mark Parent came on as a defensive replacement. And now trying to get this inning jump-started, Davey Johnson pinch hitting for Parent with Devereaux. Eric Hansen started for Toronto, gave his team 8 very solid innings. Dane Johnson is a similar pitcher to Eric Hansen, an assortment of off-speed and breaking stuff. On deck, the home run power, Brady Anderson. Each of the starting pitchers, Mike Messina and Eric Hansen today, the change-up curveball artists, they each won 8 innings. Messina left with the lead and with his 20th win in tow. Devereaux slaps it away foul. Eddie Murray, one of the several veterans now on this Orioles team. There's another Pete Incaviglia. And in the background, you might see, there he is, Rafael Palmeiro, who has never been to the playoffs. Dane Johnson barely beats Devereaux to the bag, 1 out here in the top of the 10th inning. Rafael Palmeiro so overjoyed when he signed with this Orioles team, figured he had a great chance to get to the playoffs. Ironically, the team that he left, the Texas Rangers, well, they clinched yesterday. They're in before the Orioles are in, and there's still doubt, obviously, as to whether the Orioles will be there. They've got to win today and or tomorrow, or watch Seattle lose. And Chicago's got to lose, too. They're still alive. Now, with the lefty Anderson ready to come up there, Paul Spoljaric has been warming up in the bullpen. And Cito Gaston will make the move. Subtract Dane Johnson and add Paul Spoljaric. Tough lefty to come on and face Brady Anderson in a 2-2 game. 12 hits in this ball game, 7 for Baltimore, 5 for Toronto. And Spoljaric now will become the 3rd pitcher of the afternoon used by Cito Gaston. 3 pitchers used by the Orioles as well. B.J. Surhoff had the big home run, we thought, back in the 7th, and now that's just part of the fabric. A 2-2 score. We'll come right back. In the 10th inning, the Baltimore Orioles trying to regain the lead. They just surrendered in the bottom of the 9th. New pitcher comes out there for Toronto, the native Canadian, Paul Spoljaric. Rafael Palmeiro struck out against him in a big situation last week, and after the game, Palmeiro said Spoljaric has got about the nastiest stuff from a left-hander he has seen this year, and he offered the caveat that Randy Johnson has not been healthy this year, but this is a guy with some pretty good stuff. He throws hard, and he'll be facing Brady Anderson, who not coincidentally hits the ball hard. We welcome back Ken Singleton to the broadcast booth. And Ken, what do you think, Brady, with those 49 home runs? This would be a memorable number 50 if he can get a hold of one here.
Well, the Orioles thought they had the home run that was going to be a memorable make it a memorable afternoon here in Toronto, but they're going to have to scramble some more and try and pick up an extra run.
Brady Anderson has singled. He has walked in this game. A guy that has usually hit around 260. He is flirting with a 300 batting average this year. On deck is Roberto Alomar as the Orioles try to get something going.
Still a lot of tension in that dugout.
Yeah, one of those moving shoes was that of Cal Ripken. Orioles fans will recall 1989. It was Toronto that delivered the knockout punch as the Orioles pursued the postseason. Cal Ripken remembers it was the last Saturday of the regular season. Anderson with a flare and a foul ground. Ed Sprague reaching in, but this one is into the 5th row. Into the 2nd row is fair game. He proved that earlier in this series.
One thing we found out with Spaljaric here, he is challenging Brady Anderson fastball after fastball. That shows he has a lot of confidence in his heater, and he has yet to throw him a breaking ball. Usually when lefties come in and face lefties, they will work them with the breaking ball, trying to get him out with that pitch. But Spaljaric, with a good fastball, is challenging Brady Anderson, one of the top home run hitters in baseball.
Chris Hoyles out of the game, as is Mark Parent. Keep in mind, the Orioles in the bottom of the 10th. They're going to have to run their 3rd-string catcher out there, Cesar Devares. It's been a while for Devares since he's been in any game, let alone one of this magnitude. Lefty to lefty here, and there's a lefty watching on. David Wells takes a look as Anderson goes down on strikes. Wednesday night, you'll see Game 2 of the American League Division Series right here on Fox. Thursday night, it'll be the National League Division Series. A lot of great action coming up. Chip and Dave and Steve will get it all going. Roberto Alomar lights into one out there to right center field. Perez going back. It is a gunner. On a day where Alomar has been the tempest in the teapot, he hits a 10th inning home run with 2 outs, and the Orioles regain the lead. Controversy clinging to Alomar all day today. There's an umpire that's not working today because of what happened last night. Alomar getting thrown out of the game and spitting in an umpire's face. And a lot of raw emotion all day circling around Roberto Alomar. Now he provides a different kind of emotion. The Orioles bench comes to life.
And once again, Josh, the Orioles living by the home run. The long ball gets the job done. Alomar's first at bat from the right-hand side of the plate, his first swing, puts the Orioles in the lead here in the 10th inning.
Todd Zeile now with a 2-ball, 1-strike count. Take a look here as Spaljaric comes into Alomar.
Fastball out over the plate. And one thing I mentioned, he knows it's gone, too. Got too much good wood on it for that to stay in the ballpark. One thing I mentioned, the fact that it's his first at bat right-handed. Sometimes when you jump over to the other side of the plate, you don't feel comfortable. And he knows it's gone. He's hit it from both sides of the plate before.
Two balls, 2 strikes now to Todd Zeile. And now you start to figure that in the bottom of the 10th inning, it's Myers back out there. Take a look at Davey Johnson's reaction. It's not complete vindication for Alomar. He's still got some people to answer to for his actions from yesterday. Samuel over towards the stands, makes the catch, and we'll try this thing again. The Orioles 3 outs away one more time. We'll be back in Toronto after these messages from your local Fox station. Roberto Alomar's home run against his former team has given the Orioles a 3-2 lead in the 10th. Charlie O'Brien pinch hitting is at the plate against Randy Myers, who now can indeed close out this game. And he induces O'Brien to pop one up into the infield. Todd Zeile calling for it. Makes the catch for the first out. And we should point out Mark Parent is still in the game for the Orioles. Davey Johnson apparently double switching and keeping Mark Parent in there. Take another look at Alomar's home run cut. The ball that sailed away to right center. And his first at bat right-handed today. What an incredible ending that would be if indeed it's an ending. Jacob Brumfield in there. Bottom of the 9th, the Orioles recorded the first out, but then Ed Sprague hit a home run to tie the game 2-2. Bobby Bonilla out of this game. Mike Devereaux stays in the game to play right. Better defense for the Orioles. It's been a while for Cal Ripken. It's been since 1983 since he's been able to celebrate getting into the postseason. For the second time today, his team is 2 outs away. Brumfield 0 for 4 this afternoon. Felipe Crespo would bat next, and Davey Johnson, who lifted Mike Messina after 8 strong innings, brought in Benitez. Now he's looking at a 3-2 lead. Myers trying to protect it, and this ball spinning foul. I'm sure it's been a roller coaster ride in Seattle and Chicago, too. You bet those teams, Seattle in Oakland right now, and Chicago. The White Sox actually playing at Minnesota, but you better believe they've been keeping tuned to what's been going on. Strike 3 on that outside corner, and Randy Myers is now to within 1 out. There you see today's Chevrolet Player of the Game. Give it to the entire Baltimore Orioles team for hanging tough. All kinds of heroes. B.J. Surhoff hitting his first home run since the middle of August. Bullpen watching on now as Randy Myers tries to slam the door shut. And to Cal Ripken. One of the many veterans on this Orioles team that you figure will be ready to celebrate but not go too crazy. That's the guy that might go nuts. Rafael Palmeiro has never known what it's like to go forward from here. Randy Myers working to Felipe Crespo, who's 0 for 4 today. And that man, Eddie Murray, has been the buoy since coming over from Cleveland. The trade for Kent Mercker, what a great trade for the Orioles as it turned out. Now Randy Myers has it to within a strike. Up there facing a rookie, and Randy Myers, one-time New York Met, a guy that has been at odds with Davey Johnson the last few weeks. We'll see if they embrace each other, if he can get one more strike or one more out. Here it comes. Don't want to fool around here if you're Randy Myers. Carlos Delgado and Joe Carter are the next 2 scheduled batters. This is a guy, Crespo, hitting around 160. Didn't miss by much, but 2 balls, 2 strikes now. The count with 2 out. Nobody on. Davey Johnson has watched Roberto Alomar, of all players, give his team a lead today. Pat Gillick and Kevin Malone watching from a box seats. And the Baltimore Orioles have made the playoffs. For the first time since 1983, they're going. Cal Ripken's going back. Alomar will join him. Palmeiro for the first time ever. And Pat Gillick, who steered the Toronto team to the postseason so many times, he's going there too. It is a quiet, not a raucous hand slapping going on right now, and typical perhaps of this Baltimore Orioles team, a business-like ball club. A team Teddy Roosevelt would have loved. They speak softly, but they carry way big sticks. Cal Ripken in that 20 home run club this year. Roberto Alomar was the guy today with his 22nd home run. He melted away much of the controversy that surrounded him all morning and into the afternoon. A remarkable ending. Ed Sprague tied it in the bottom of the 9th with the homer. Alomar, the former Blue Jay, goes back to the postseason once again with general manager Pat Gillick. And Davey Johnson, who was in there last year, guiding the Cincinnati Reds, now he's guided the Orioles to their 88th win of the year. It is good enough for this team to become the American League wild card entry. No gloves thrown in the air. Just a businesslike ending to this one. And Cal Ripken, Davey Johnson with a little bit more emotion, as the Orioles have done it. The roller coaster is ground to a halt, at least for now. I'm sure it'll start back up again when the O's and Cleveland go at it starting Tuesday. Maybe some vindication for Davey Johnson, too. Mike Messina was pulled out of the ball game after 8 innings. Benitez gave up the tying home run, and Randy Myers got it done. Let's go down to Ken Singleton right now. He's standing by with the happy winners. Ken?
Rafael Palmeiro has joined me. Rafael, first of all, the most valuable player of this ball club, is selected by the writers. How do you feel at this moment that you got the job done? You guys are going to the playoffs.
Well, I'm excited. You know, I've never been there. I've been in the big leagues now for about 9 or 10 years, and this is my first time. But I tell you what, the MVP of this team is Robbie Alomar. He's done it all year. He did it again tonight.
Well, after the ball was hit by Sprague to tie the ball game, did that make your heart sink at the moment?
Yeah, it did. I mean, I thought we had it right there, but he's a good hitter. He's had a lot of home runs this year, and he just made a bad pitch. But, you know, we came back and won the game.
What about playing the Cleveland Indians coming up in the playoffs here?
Well, you know, we've had our success against them this year, but, you know, they're a great team. They're the team to beat.
Okay, back upstairs to Josh.
All right, thanks very much, Ken. And there's Alomar coming off the field now as he goes back to the postseason. The Orioles there for the first time since 1983. And a year where a lot of people thought they'd be there. They had to really scrape to get it done. Second to last day of the season. So for Ken Singleton, this is Josh Lewin saying so long from the Sky Dome, where the final score is Baltimore 3, Toronto 2 in 10. You've been watching Fox Sports coverage of Major League Baseball.